3 days after meeting with Shifume, Adaora's carefully crafted plan was in motion. By Monday morning, headlines exploded across social media. Breaking news: business tycoon Adaora Ezeani faces financial collapse. Ezeani Group under investigation. Billionaire empire reportedly on the brink of liquidation. Television stations interrupted their regular programming. Business analysts debated her downfall. Radio presenters discussed the shocking news. Within hours, the entire country believed Adaora had lost everything. Her companies appeared to have gone into receivership. Her accounts were reportedly frozen. Even her mansion was said to have been seized by creditors. Only 3 people knew the truth: Adaora, Shifume, and Ngozi. Everyone else believed the story, including Alexander. Adaora packed a few simple clothes and temporarily moved into a modest 2-bedroom apartment owned secretly by one of her companies. Gone were the marble floors, gone were the luxury cars, gone were the security escorts. She wanted the illusion to feel real. The first 2 days were painfully quiet. Her phone rang constantly, not because people wanted to help, because they wanted information. Journalists called endlessly. Business partners demanded explanations. Curious acquaintances sent messages asking if the rumors were true. Then, the calls stopped, almost overnight. The women who once called every morning suddenly disappeared. Vivian never called, Sandra never sent a message, Helen was nowhere to be found. Miriam blocked Adaora's number entirely. Adaora stared at her phone every evening. Nothing. Not even a "how are you?" The silence hurt more than she expected. One evening, Ngozi entered the apartment carrying groceries. She noticed Adaora staring at her phone. "They haven't called?" Adaora slowly shook her head. "No." Ngozi sighed. "They've answered your question." Adaora forced a smile. "I suppose they have." Just then, there was a knock at the door. Ngozi opened it. Standing outside was Alexander. He wasn't carrying flowers or expensive gifts. He held 2 paper bags filled with groceries. "I thought you might need these," he said softly. Adaora's eyes immediately filled with tears. He hadn't come to ask questions. He had come to help. If this story is touching your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Stories like these remind us that true character is revealed when life becomes difficult. Now, let's see whether Alexander's love is as genuine as it seems. Alexander stepped inside the tiny apartment and looked around. There was no judgment in his eyes, only concern. "I know this place isn't what you are used to," he said, gently. "But it's only temporary." Adaora lowered her eyes. "You still believe I can recover?" Alexander smiled. "I don't believe. I know." She looked at him. "What if I never become wealthy again?" Alexander laughed softly. "You keep talking as if money is the best thing about you. It isn't." She stared at him silently. "The best thing about you," he continued, "is your heart. You've spent years lifting other people. Now it's someone else's turn to lift you." Adaora struggled to hold back her tears. No one had ever spoken to her that way. Over the following weeks, Alexander became her greatest source of strength. He visited almost every evening after work. Sometimes he cooked. Sometimes they ate simple takeaway meals together. Sometimes they simply sat on the balcony talking for hours. Never once did he complain. Never once did he ask whether the rumors were true. Instead, he began helping her plan for a new future. One evening, he spread several documents across the table. "I've been thinking." Adaora smiled sadly. "That usually means trouble." He laughed. "I've prepared a business plan." She looked down. It was a detailed proposal for a small logistics company. Ironically, the same kind of business Adaora had started years earlier. She looked up. "You did all this?" Alexander nodded. "You built an empire once. You can do it again." Adaora smiled sadly. "But I don't have the capital." Alexander reached into his briefcase and placed a folder before her. Inside was a bank check. Adora's eyes widened. "Alexander, no, I can't accept this." "You can. It's almost everything you've saved." "So what? What if the business fails?" He smiled. "Then we'll start again." Adaora shook her head. "I can't let you risk everything because of me." Alexander gently held her hand. "Adaora, I am not investing in a business. I'm investing in the woman I believe in." At that moment, Adaora nearly confessed everything. But she stopped herself. The test wasn't over. Unfortunately, not everyone shared Alexander's faith. One Sunday afternoon, he was invited to lunch at his parents' home in Ikoli. The moment he entered, he sensed something was wrong. His mother barely smiled. His father looked unusually serious. His uncle folded a newspaper and placed it on the table. The headline stared back at Alexander. "Adaora Ezeani loses billion-naira empire." His mother sighed deeply. "Alexander, we need to talk." He nodded calmly. "I'm listening." His uncle spoke first. "And this relationship." Alexander frowned. "What?" "That woman has lost everything." His mother reached for his hand. "My son, we liked Adaora when she was successful, but now your future is at stake." Alexander slowly withdrew his hand. "So your opinion changed because her bank account changed?" His father spoke quietly. "Be realistic. If you marry her now, you will spend years carrying her burdens." His aunt added, "People will say she's using you." Alexander remained silent for a few moments. Then he stood up. The dining room became completely quiet. He looked at every member of his family. "You all admired Adaora when she was wealthy." Nobody replied. "You praised her. You celebrated her. You wanted photographs with her. But the moment you believed she had lost everything, you decided she was no longer good enough." His uncle frowned. "That's not what we mean." Alexander shook his head. "That is exactly what you mean." His mother whispered, "But she's depending on you now." Alexander smiled calmly. "No, she never asked me for 1 naira. I'm the one asking her to let me help." Silence filled the room. He continued, "I didn't fall in love with Adaora because of her companies. I fell in love with the woman who quietly paid strangers' hospital bills, the woman who built schools, the woman who created jobs, the woman whose kindness changed thousands of lives." He looked at his parents with tears in his eyes and said, "If all of that disappears, she's still the same woman." He took a deep breath before saying the words that would change everything. "Whether Adaora owns billions or only 100 naira, I will still choose her." Unknown to everyone inside the dining room, a black SUV had just pulled into the compound. Adaora had come to surprise Alexander with homemade food. Instead, she had heard every single word. Tears streamed down her face. She covered her mouth to stop herself from crying. The guilt became unbearable. Alexander had passed the test. He loved her, not her wealth, not her influence, her. As she quietly walked back to her car, she whispered to herself, "Tomorrow, I'm telling him the truth." Little did she know, the truth would hurt Alexander more than losing her fortune ever could. Did Alexander prove that true love still exists?
Or would you be angry if you discovered the person you loved had tested you like this? Tell us your thoughts in the comments. And don't miss the final episode of this unforgettable African folktale, where Adaora reveals the shocking truth. Alexander must decide whether to forgive her, and an emotional ending teaches a lesson that neither of them will ever forget.